What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, I'm going to give you my watch list for Monday morning and the game plan for the week ahead. Now, if we start by looking at our scanners, one of the first things I like to look at is the top gainers from Friday, and then I also like to look at the after hours top gainers. So on our after hours top gainers scan here, we can see that GCTK was up 42% in after hours on Friday. And so I look at that as being the first possible contender for a Monday morning trade. Because of the way it closed fairly strong in the after hour session on Friday, I would say that a lot of traders will be watching this bright and early Monday morning. The only problem for me is that 4 a.m. traders are probably going to get to it before I will. It wouldn't surprise me to see a dip and a rip. Whether it goes to 9.50 or 10, or it just pops up a little bit and then sells off hard, I'm not really sure, because one of the challenges with this stock is that there was not a clear catalyst driving the move on Friday. This was not squeezing on breaking news on Friday. It just, for sort of an unknown reason, started to pop up. Now, this does bring back memories of VLCN, which obviously popped up with an unknown catalyst on Thursday, only for the news to finally come out and then for us to see a wave of selling, which certainly made it feel like there were some people that knew the news was coming and jumped in to profit and sell into this spike, which is called insider trading. You're not supposed to do that. It's illegal, but unfortunately it happens in the market. So is that what happened on VLCN? Certainly seemed like it. And I'll give you an even bigger indicator that I do think it is what was happening. If we look at VLCN on is in sort of some very specific areas. So notice the way this had a spike. I'm going to bring it in right here. Look at this spike that happened. No, sorry, it wasn't that one. It was this spike right here at 8:30. This was really interesting because I was actually watching. I was paying very close attention to VLCN here. Was watching it for a curl, and then all of a sudden, 8:30 on the dot, it spikes up $5 a share. It goes from $25 to $30, and we were all like, whoa, what's going on? Is there news? And there wasn't. And then the news came out like 25 minutes later. So what I think is that there was someone out there that knew that news was coming on it, and they didn't know when. And so they kept kind of trying to time jumping in when they thought the news was coming out. And that's why we got these kind of spikes. And this one, like right at the bottom of the hour, exactly to the second at 8:30, it to me seemed quite obvious that someone was trying to jump in because they knew the news was coming. So is that the case with GCTK? Well, I don't really know. I don't have really any reason to think that is the case. I mean, but on the other hand, I am worried about this trend that we're seeing in the markets where sort of the shadiness that we've seen in crypto markets for a long time is spilling over a little bit into the equity markets. Now, we've seen some shadiness in the equity markets when it comes to Chinese stocks and some foreign listed companies. But the way it's kind of presented in recent weeks with this crypto catalyst has been very interesting. So, if you look back like a month ago, we had SBET, and this was back in May, that had this headline of a private placement with the funds to be used to purchase cryptocurrency. And the stock goes from like $5 a share to 130. And so the people that were behind the private placement were up something like $5 billion in like 3 days. Now that arguably is more than you would make probably on most cryptocurrencies in 3 days. And it was kind of incredible. And so whether the insiders sold their shares or are still holding, I don't know. But then we saw something very similar happen with BMRN. BRMN. BMRN. Is this it? BMNR. This is it. BMNR. Where this one went from about $6 a share up to 160. And again, I don't know if the insiders are still holding, but they had the potential to be up billions of dollars. Billions. And so then my thought here is that some people are like, holy smokes, I got to just figure out how to give a company $100 million, get the stock immediately, so I can turn around and sell it 3 days later. And the thing with this is that even if the private placement didn't close, let's just say they knew they were going to get the shares, in theory, they could short into the news spike, knowing that they'll cover with the shares that they're going to get assigned to them later. So essentially, they're selling up here for profit, knowing that they already have shares they're going to get. So it allows them to buy back at such a lower price. So I look, that may not be the case. That may not be what's happening. Maybe I'm being very cynical. But what we saw in VLCN was pretty lame. Just to see that the sort of like news at 8:30 spike, but then there was no news, and then it does come out here, but then immediately it's selling. And then we had MEIP, another company that did the same thing, $100 million offering, private placement to buy crypto. It spikes up, comes all the way back down. But if you look at MEIP, you can see the same thing on the chart, which is that you got this first spike back here at 7:30. So I was like, okay, maybe they thought the news was going to come out at 7:30, and then it failed. And then you've got another spike here, and then finally you get the spike here. So I don't know, guys. It makes me a little hesitant on the cryptocurrency headlines until we see a few that actually hold up. Because right now what we're seeing is that they just dump and they don't hold up. So GCTK going up on no news, this is now tricky because now I'm wondering, are these no news plays being kind of front run because someone out there knows that the headline is going to be coming out and it's a crypto headline, which they think is going to cause it to spike, which has been successful, but that may be, sort of that theme may be running out because people go back to the well too many times, it stops working, and then it fails. Prior to this crypto momentum, we were certainly seeing stocks that would go up on no news, sometimes 300, 400%, and we would never have a headline. They just went up and shorts got squeezed and they just went higher and higher and higher. And sometimes we just thought, well, this is just crazy, but we're having big momentum. So now I'm a little skeptical of, does no news mean someone knows what's coming and they're going to sell into it? So that gives me a little bit pause to trade something with no news. In the past few weeks, what has worked well has been seeing stocks with clear catalysts, and then they're already up 50, 75, 100%, and trading that momentum as they continue higher. But so I'm going into Monday a little cautious. When it comes to GCTK, obviously there was no news that came out over the weekend on it, so nothing has changed at this point. There's still no news, and Monday morning people may jump on it, and maybe it will end up being up. By Monday it'll already be up 40% if it opens exactly at 828. So next thing you know, it goes up to 950, 10, and it's up 7,500%. It's our leading gainer on the day with a float of 472,000 shares. Now on the daily chart, this one, you can see it had a day where it popped up and it sold off all day long, and the second day as well. So the daily chart probably has some bag holders. So where do they get cleared out? Well, if it gets above 1590, and how many shares of volume were on that day? 24 million shares, but with only a 472,000 share float, in theory, if it trades more than 500,000 shares of volume, then the entire float of anyone that's still holding could be bought out. So as long as it has good volume, there might be some opportunity on it, but I'm a little skeptical. And when you look at the daily chart, it's definitely been beaten up for a long time. Typically, I like stocks that have been beaten up for a long time, but I like them a lot more when they come out with news, because then you've got the reason for them to be moving up, right? Without news, it feels a little unsure. I feel a little unsure about it. So GCTK, then HCWB from Friday. This one also popped up at the close and then sold off. At this point, without a clear catalyst either. A low float stock, looks like a biotech. Something to keep an eye on, perhaps, but it's only up 21%. Also has a history of selling off. Open, this one has a higher float, 661 million shares. So that one is a no-go for me. And then the others on here aren't gapping up enough, so that's not worth paying attention to. DTC, this was a reverse split. At least I believe this was a reverse split, or maybe it was an uplisting. But in any case, no real volume on Friday, and the price is too high. TELO, 135 million shares, sold off most of the day. IXHL, a lot of volume, 462 million shares, closed strong. This may get another day of momentum, but it had this rejection back here, so that might be a little bit tricky as well. CYCC, you got a big squeeze from 9 to 18, and then that kind of faded. So on the daily chart, it's interesting if it can get over 18 to 20, and maybe there'll be a day next week after a couple days of pullback where you kind of get that move. It could almost be a ABCD pattern on the daily: pop, pullback, pullback, pop, pullback, pullback, and then breakout. But I'm not convinced that that's going to work. It's a pretty hard maybe, but I would keep it on the watch list during the week as a maybe. So CYCC is a maybe, GCTK is a maybe, and HCWB maybe. So, but maybes are part of the watch list. Stocks to keep a side chart on, and we'll see going into the week and certainly on Monday how they look. All right, so now we've got a couple other scans to look at. Before we do, let me remind you guys, 2-week trial at Warrior Trading, $19. Gets you live chat room access to my live broadcast, access to the scanners, charts, news feed, and a preview of classes from the Warrior Pro curriculum. You get all that for 19 bucks, 2 weeks of access. I think you guys will enjoy it. So you've been watching over my shoulder for a while and you've been wanting to get in there and actually see what it's like to trade side by side with me, do the 2-week trial. Now, we finished last week. I finished last week with a green day, which was good. If we go to recent here, let's see. So I was up 57,000 on Friday. Monday was the best day of the week with 129,000. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, smaller green days, and then red on Thursday. But something kind of exciting here. If we look at years, I'm going to actually close this out for a second. So this is the last 10 years of trading archives, trading data. So generally, prior to the pandemic, I was a 6-figure trader. Best year was $565,000 and was, pretty consistently doing 30, 40, sometimes $50,000 a month, occasionally a little higher, and then occasionally a little less. The pandemic came and all of a sudden the market exploded, did $5 million. Slowed down in 2020, but was really good thanks to GameStop, but slowed down a bit. 2022, Federal Reserve increases interest rates, the market rolled over, and it was a really hard year. 2023 was even worse. And then 2024, things picked back up. And now here in 2025, I'm at $4.6 million in profit, and it's only July. But here's something that's really interesting. If we look at this year to date, I'm going to do year to date here. You're going to notice a couple things. So first, my accuracy is at just under 72%. My average winners are 3,000. My average losers are 1,400. So this is year to date right here. Let's just do 2020. We'll do the full year for 2020. So we'll do 31 and then December. Because I want to show you something. In 2020, although I made 5 million, my accuracy was about 71.2%. But look at this. My average winners were only $1,600, and my average losers were 1,500. So this year, 5 years later, my average winners are twice as big. And if we compare, we could do a comparison here of winners versus losers. So something that I've said is that making more money is not necessarily about having taking more trades, having higher accuracy, or necessarily about having bigger winners. It can be simply about losing less and being better about cutting your losses. Now, if I look at winners and I look at losers, and we're going to do, we'll just do last year, but we'll change it to 2020. So in 2020, let's see, losing, and we'll do, again, last year, but then change the date to 2020. You'll see that in order for me to make $5 million, oh, come on. What did I do? Winning, losing. It seemed like I did everything right there. January 2020. 2020. Yep, okay, that seems right. And then last year, 2020, 2020, right? That all looks good. Okay. So, in this year, I had to make $8.3 million because I lost $3.2 million. I had a lot of losers in 2020. Let's look at 2021. In 2021, all right, generate report. I had $10 million in winners, and I had $5.8 million in losers, which is why I net, about $4.2 million. So now let's look at this year, 2025. And I think some of this, shows the evolution of my strategy. I've made $5.7 million in winning trades, but I've only lost $1 million in total losers. And so the relationship here of winners to losers is better than it has ever been. This is for me, this is like my metrics right now are the best they've ever been. And it didn't help that I had a big loss last week on VLCN, but even in spite of that, I'm sitting right now in a much better place. And I think that is for a couple of reasons. I think it's because I've gotten a little bit more particular about the type of stocks that I like and the type of stocks I don't like. So if I don't like a stock, I don't trade it at all. Now, I guess in total, my accuracy has basically remained unchanged at about 72%. But the profit loss ratio has definitely changed, which means I'm cutting my losses, but the winners are also bigger. I've got these winners where I feel comfortable holding a little bit longer. And I suppose right now that's a reflection of the overall market because we're getting these moves where, we're seeing these stocks that are making just unbelievable percentage gains. So all that is to say, I feel like right now the window is open, certainly for me and for traders who have been at this for a while, where the market is giving some really good returns, but it won't last like that forever. So my goal whenever the market is hot is to try to capitalize on it as much as I can, knowing that inevitably we're going to have another slow stretch, right? That's just the ebb and flow. That's just the way trading is. Now I show up rain or shine. In 2023, I still took 2,289 trades, more than I'd taken in 16, 17, 18, or 19, but I was spinning my wheels. I didn't make as much money for it, right? 2022, took a lot of trades, didn't make as much money. And here, 2025, arguably, I haven't taken as many trades, and I've made a lot more money. I'm getting a lot more bang for the buck. And a big part of that is because of being picky. So asking myself, does this stock meet all 5 pillars of stock selection? If it does, do I like the chart pattern? And then when I see something I like, I'm taking bigger size. So increasing the quality standard, therefore, I only take trades I feel a lot more confident on. And because I'm more confident, I take bigger size. And when they work, the winners are bigger. Now, I guess you would think that this would also produce higher accuracy. That's the only missing piece is why hasn't my accuracy gone to like 75 or 80%? So I guess I'm not sure about that. Maybe what it means is that even in spite of focusing on what I think are higher quality stocks, I still, just am wrong 28% of the time or so. But the stocks that I'm trading when they work produce bigger moves. And maybe previously with a slightly lower standard, the average winners on trades were just smaller because I was trading some more maybe lower quality junky stocks. So for me tomorrow morning, Monday morning, when I sit down, what am I going to be looking for? I'm going to be looking for a stock that is obvious, one of the leading percentage gainers in the market. It may be GCTK, it may be HCWB, it may be something that we haven't even looked at because it's a stock that has breaking news tomorrow. But what I look at is this top gainer scanner right here. This is what I pay attention to. And I'm usually looking at the top, 3 or 4 stocks that are on the scan. Now on Friday, what was a little tricky was that TELO, T-E-L-O, was 18 million share float, which is a little higher, and the price is a little lower. And then there were a couple others on the scans that like BZAI, also slightly higher float. Usually the days where we get like explosive moves, we have stocks on the scan with floats of less than 5 million shares. So sort of the under 5 is where, and certainly under 10, but under 5 and even under 1 million share floats, that's when we see some really big moves. So already seeing GCTK after hours, makes me think, all right, that meets the profile, except there's no news. And in this current environment, it's got me feeling a little nervous of what if this ends up being another one of these crypto, moves where it pops and then they just sell all day long. So generally, one of the most sort of tried and true catalysts or sectors for day trading has been biotech stocks. So I'm going to certainly keep those on watch. But I think we're in a little bit of a tricky spot right now because we've been in this long cycle of crypto driving momentum in small cap stocks. And yet in the last week, especially, we've seen a couple of really nasty reversals and sort of like all day sell-offs with a catalyst that was working really well, a month ago. So now is that catalyst, are people just going to be sort of jaded when they see that headline come up? Like, oh boy, here we go. Another one of these crypto treasury catalysts, this is just going to pop and drop. So if that's the case, shorts are going to be more aggressive, longs are going to stop buying, and the moves will stop happening. And when the moves stop happening, then the companies will stop putting out the news because they'll realize there's no squeeze, there's no juice for that squeeze. They're not getting anything for it. So they'll have to find the next catalyst in the next hot cycle. Either that or we have a crypto catalyst that we assume will fail, but it surprises us and ends up going to $160 a share like SBET and BMNR did, in which case then momentum is back on. Except it'll be a little bit hard to forget some of these ones that did that full reversal. But traders do tend to have short-term memories. I know I tend to as well when we go through these trends and cycles. So determined, but at this point, the game plan will be bright and early Monday morning to watch whatever is hitting the scanners. And if we see something that's looking good and it's got a clear catalyst, then I'm going to feel really great about it. If I'm trading something without news, I'm just going to have to be a little bit more cautious for these next few days until we kind of get a better footing. All right, so that's the game plan for Monday morning. And again, if you guys haven't checked out the 2-week trial, link will be pinned to the top of the comments and in the description, so you can check that out. And I'll see you guys back at it. I'll be live streaming bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. for members at Warrior Trading.